I'd like to welcome everyone to this regular council meeting for Puslinch Township, Wednesday, November 6th, 2019. I'd start with disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Councillor Guida?
Yes, I do have a pecuniary interest for item number 7.1, which is TAPMO's response to the proposed aggregate act. And the general nature is that I have a family member that operates an aggregate business in the township.
Okay, thank you. We don't have any closed items. Adoptions of receipts of previous minutes. Moved by Councillor Balmer, seconded by Councillor Spools, that the minutes of the following meetings be adopted as written and distributed. A, Wednesday, October 16th, 2019, public information meeting file number D14/FAR. B, Wednesday, October 16th, 2019, regular council meeting. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Councillor Spools?
I'll bring it up under 7.1, TAPMO's response, but under item 2.8, Aggregate Resources Act, something happened last week at the province that we should be all aware of, and we should put a response out.
I was going to talk about that at the mayor's update as well, but that's excellent. Any other questions or comments? No? All in favor? Carried. All right. Business arising of the previous minutes. That's kind of what you were just talking about. Anything else? No? Public meetings, none. Communications. So this is where Jessica's going to exclude herself. We have the TAPMO response to proposed amendment to the aggregates.
Mr. Chair, I wonder if you want to do the delegations,
we better
given
get to the
given that's time.
All right, so who's our first delegate? I'll invite Mr. Mitchell to come down. Thank you. So all I ask, since there are two of you at the table, if you're going to speak, just try to speak into the microphone. Thank you.
Is it on?
It's on.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Sealy, members of council, and those that are in attendance. My name is Kevin Mitchell. I'm the Director of Property Planning and Approvals at CRH Canada, which is the parent company for Dufferin Aggregates. With me today is Maria Topolovic. Maria is our Environmental Manager at CRH Canada. We're here today to request permission from the township to extend our operating season one extra month at our Aberfoyle Pit number 2 from the period of November the 15th until December the 15th. On this figure that we have up there, we have two locations on this side of the township. Aberfoyle Pit 2 is located at 4445 Victoria Road, and that would be the site. It's not showing up there. It's the one at the top. And our Aberfoyle Pit number 2 is down in the bottom left. The yellow is indicating the Hall Road. Aberfoyle Pit number 2 is where the aggregate is extracted, and it's processed at Aberfoyle Pit number 1. And we have the sizes of each of the sites there. If we go back in time, before Dufferin actually owned the site, this is an old site. It would appear to have been licensed before the 1980s because there's a development agreement that was put in place back in that time between both the township and the operators then, and we've since inherited that as the new owners. A copy of that development agreement, and there was an addendum to that, was included in the council package. Really what we're looking for is to expand the time frame from when we're going to ship from November the 15th until the December the 15th, and that's what our request is. This will allow us to wash aggregates. One thing with climate change, we've had a warming period now at the end of the year, and we used to not be able to wash in that late of the year, and now we're able to. So we'd like to be able to haul material for that extra 30 days from Pit 1 to Pit 2, from Pit 2 to Pit 1, so that we can process that material. That really is our request. It's that simple. Now, when we came in for pre-consultation and we met with Mayor Sealy, Councillor Balmer, the CAO, and there was a planner from the municipality of County of Wellington as well, our conversation took us into a couple of other areas. And after that meeting, we thought it might be good to share some of that with you now. This is extra information. It's not additional to the request that we had on the earlier couple of slides, but we're getting to the point at our site, and how the conversation went was really is, where are you going? What's going to happen with this site? And so it was a perfect timing to ask this question because we probably have plus or minus 5 to 7 years left here. So we are in that planning mode on what's going to happen. The site is shown in red. Now, with that one little tiny part of yellow is actually not licensed. There's a single-family house there that we rent out, but that part of the site is not licensed. And we're actually in the process of looking at how we're going to proceed with final rehabilitation on areas. And so on this slide here, this is a photo taken on the left-hand side that's taken of the site plan. So essentially, the approved site plans for this site will end up in most of the site being a lake. There's a piece across the front on the frontage onto Victoria Road. It's about 200 meters in depth at maximum that would not be extracted. That area would be a slope and down to the water's edge. That area, would be covered in vegetation, primarily grasses, and then side slopes around the outside. The dotted yellow line is where the limit of extraction is for above water extraction. So really what we're looking at here is, what are we going to do? So we know we have to do this. This is the bare minimum, but there's not a lot of instructions on the site plans to what the next step is. So like many of our other sites, we do an awful lot of things in biodiversity, and all of the photos here are taken, actually, they're from our Mill Creek site, and what we're looking at now here at Aberfoyle Pit 2 is where we're going to do some enhancement in biological features. So we have, the wetlands, we have nesting areas that would be on islands for things, and also for turtles. We have the snake hibernaculum there and a barn swallow structure. So what our vision is right now at this site would be to come to the municipality and chat with you somewhere in the near future about, is this the right place to put some state residential lots onto Victoria Road? That would create some assessment down the road. It lets us plan on how we're going to actually leave this site when we're there, and it will help us figure out where to put some of these features. If there's going to be a house in front, we wouldn't necessarily put a wetland there. It might be more of a feature where people could go into the water, have access, and the wetlands would be directed to the sides and the back. And that will help us in our planning as we start winding down the site. So this is for information purposes, something that we will come back and be happy to collaborate between now and when the life of the end of the site is. But this part is for information purposes. So purpose of the request was primarily on the hauling.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So I'll direct council, let's discuss the extended hauling dates first, and then we can have a quick discussion about the proposed rehabilitation of the pit. So I guess, okay, Councillor Spools.
Yes, would you be amenable to issuing a letter to all the residents?
Absolutely. And
Statements?
where would you like that letter to go? I mean, we can, along the whole part of the yellow, or?
I would think, working with the CEO, he would have a good idea of
Okay, we will do that.
the area.
That's not a problem.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine with having the letter and, in general, the proposed extension.
Councillor Palmer?
Thank you. Good afternoon. It was nice it must have been, looking back and seeing Guelph Suburban Planning Board, a lot of people don't even know what that was, but I came into my political career here just after it ended, so it was kind of interesting to see, be reminded of all that. I have no issues with this request, particularly because one of the main clauses of the agreement is that you're responsible for the roads anyway, so it doesn't, if anything untowards happens, well, it's okay, it's covered, and when I look at the agreement and the legislative environment we're operating in fact, you're going above and beyond. So I appreciate that, even just being asked, so I don't have an issue with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much for coming today. I don't really have any concerns with it either. I would echo Councillor Sapoulis's ask that perhaps we send a letter. The only one question that I had and wasn't really able to find the answer is, do you have any idea of why that restriction was put there initially in the first place?
So when we went with the mayor and Councillor Ballmer, the same question was asked. And I believe that back in the day, it was the norm to have a very shortened season because it would freeze up earlier. I mean, I think back when I was a kid, winters were quite different and we can't wash. And so it was probably, that was the purpose. It really didn't tie to trucking patterns or anything like that. I'm speculating, but I believe that's what it was.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm supportive of this ask on an annual basis. I think hopefully it's within your means. Each year you could come back through a daytime meeting just to, so it's not affecting your schedule as much. And then that'll give us an opportunity to see if there are any impacts on the road, neighbor complaints. And so I'm supportive of that. So do we have a motion to, so. Moved by Councillor Ballmer, second by Councillor Spools. The council receives a presentation by Kevin Mitchell and the council approves the proposed 2019 operating season for Dufferin Aggregates, subject to Dufferin Aggregates sending notification of the change to neighboring property owners. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so we'll have a quick discussion about your site rehabilitation. I think that's excellent that this is on your radar and you're wanting to go forward. I was at the meeting with you, and planning staff from the county said there is a possibility of getting a couple of state lots there. One question I would pose to you is, would Dufferin Aggregates be interested in providing an easement to the township that allows all residents to have access to that lake, or even the township owning, 2 feet around the entire lake? Because what I see in the future is if you have 2 estate homes or 3, whatever the magic number is, if they own the lake, there could be fighting amongst themselves. Whereas if we have an easement, then it gives back to the community that had the impact of the extraction, and then those other homes also have access. So I'd like to have that conversation with you maybe further on in the process, but.
No, it's a good question. It's something that we can look at. The county planner, I think he indicated that day, and correct me if I'm wrong, 3, maximum 4 is what he had indicated. Now, there's 1 house there already, so it'd be a couple more. But looking at that and what is the right use for that, that's important to the long term, and that's something that definitely would dialogue with you on.
Councilor Spools?
No, I'm fine. I'm glad to see that you're being proactive, and glad the mayor and Council Bloomer prodded you to look at this, and I'm hopeful that the future will work out for all of us.
Councilor Ballmer?
Mr. Chair, just on this point of thinking ahead to after use, I trust Dufferin will be at the table as the county goes through the process to update their official plan and their comprehensive review, so it isn't just this site that is considered, because I believe when we just recently did some changes around the Mill Creek site, that one must be coming close to its end as well, and if the one in Aberfoyle is simply being fed by these other 2 sites, it can't be far behind unless it's going to be fed from another site from outside the township, or another one inside the township. So is Dufferin going to be at the table when the residents are considering the after use for a lot of these sites as part of the official plan update?
We do follow the official plans in all the communities that we're in. At this point in time, you are correct, but the last phase at Mill Creek, there is nowhere to process it. It would be hauled to Aberfoyle Pit 1 for processing, and we don't have any other aggregate operations in the community that would use that. So Mill Creek, again, is in that 5 to 7 year timeline, so plus or minus 7 years. There's a little bit of material below the water table of Pit 1, but it's in a very viable industrial commercial area, and it's not a lot of quality material there, so it may stay, but we do follow those processes and we'll continue to be engaged. I see the mayor quite frequently at the TAPMO meetings and that sort of thing, and keep giving him updates when I bump into them, and we're happy to meet with any of the councilors at any time to talk about things like this.
Super. Thank you so much.
Councilor Guida?
Yeah, I have no questions, at least not at this point. I think it's great that you're looking to the future of what you're going to do with it once it's been exhausted. So, thank you.
I just want to clarify for council, I wasn't trying to be exclusive of 2 members or 3 members of council, but I was cognizant of having quorum with a producer in the room. So, and then with Matthew's extensive knowledge in aggregate, it felt like a good fit. I thought it was a very constructive meeting. I also believe that if we're going to be talking about rehabilitation, that you should come to council and present all of the work you have done, which you presented to the CAO and Matthew and I, because that isn't out there. The public doesn't know the work you've done, and I think you're doing some excellent work, and that will it'll just help your reputation, and then it'll give them security in knowing that you're going to rehabilitate this pit. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
So we already received their delegation, so when they leave, we'll invite the second delegation, Mr. Tuck, down, and Mrs. Tuck. No, Mrs. Tuck. Oh,
No.
You're batting 1,000.
Rumors start.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a scandal.
They may have gone to the same university, but
welcome. Don't be intimidated. It's all fine. Sarah, you're very red in the face already. Are you looking nervous?
Easy now. Watch where you're going with this.
Whenever you're ready, just make sure you speak into the microphone so the gallery can hear you.
First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council, for letting us, giving us the opportunity to express the needs of Puslinch baseball here today to you. It's our pleasure to present, on behalf of Puslinch Minor Ball, the Flamborough Old Timers League, and also the other leagues that utilize our facilities. We as a recreation community in the township understand that funding for the projects is at a premium, and it is our hope that we can bring forward some capital projects that involve community fundraising, which fit the park's master plan and will be an investment in Puslinch youth and as well as adults baseball leagues in Puslinch for now and in the future coming. Softball-style baseball has had very long roots in our township. It's evidence whenever you go into the main foyer over at the community center with all the trophies over there. But recently, the township underwent a rebranding project of the crest. And an important aspect of the rebranding was the heritage side of everything. And what did that involve? Well, the heritage of our main parts of our heritage of our community is community, farming, and baseball. Puslinch is in a very fortunate position because of our location. We're located in close to urban centers, which have, we have two lit diamonds that are centrally located between these urban centers. One aspect of baseball is that it has traditionally been played throughout the week. There have been some suggestions to have one lit diamond to accommodate most of these needs. This is not supported by Puslinch Minor Ball or the adult leagues. This was conveyed numerous times when sitting on most of the forums when the master plan was being developed by myself and other members of the community. Most parents have sports for their children during the week or on the weekends, like hockey, soccer, and lacrosse, etc. Puslinch youth are able to participate in Puslinch baseball throughout the week and still meet their obligations for their other sports on the weekend. The other concern that we have is most baseball tournaments are played on the weekends, and the playoffs, which are multiple levels in baseball for Ontario softball, are also conveyed on the weekends, so we need to play during the week. This brings to a point the need for two lit diamonds in our community. Currently, Aberfoyle is rented under the lights for the entire baseball season, Sunday to Thursday, and currently both lit diamonds in Puslinch host 3 old-timers teams from one league. However, 2 of those teams play exclusively out of the Aberfoyle diamond, and 1 out of the Old Morriston. The difficulties that the teams face with playing out of the Aberfoyle is it's not just the 2 old-timers teams, there's also the Kodiaks and other teams that rent that facility. So what happens when there's an event of a rainout, the diamond's booked. And to get back in there, we are either waiting till the end of the year, or we have the luxury, and the fortunate luxury, to go down and play out of Morriston. Now, what happens if without that other diamond down there, our current tenants in Aberfoyle do not have the opportunity to play their rainouts at our facilities. This results in lost revenues as teams will be forced to play in neighboring municipalities. Our team alone last year and the 2 years previous has had to go down to Rockton because we could not facilitate times to fit in those games. The park's master plan supports the maintenance of Old Morriston as a lit diamond. Oh, sorry, did I skip something there? Nope. As a lit diamond. Also, council has recently received a delegation in regards to reopening the public washrooms in Morriston. Along with this delegation within the capital budget, it is recommended to replace the backstop at Old Morriston. The baseball community supports both these initiatives, and we applaud it. We're really pleased to hear that. Council appears to be supporting keeping Old Morriston as a baseball diamond. However, the baseball lights are not on in the asset management plan or in the fiscal forecast. As a recreation community, we do not need another unlit ball diamond. Morriston Meadows serves a great location for T-ball and for 3-pitch. It's great because there's a the little park there for the little kids that come, for the siblings of the players that are playing that night. Also, those children are usually playing at an earlier time because it is younger players. The park's master plan does not recommend only having one lit diamond. In contrary, it states, the projected number of participants translates into a need for 2 lit ball diamonds, 2 less than what is currently provided. Early in the report, if you read the report, it states the lit ball diamonds translate into 1.5 diamonds. Unlit diamonds, like Morriston Meadows, and like the small one at Morriston Meadows, count as 1. That equals a total of 5. Keeping with Park's master plan that the township requires 2 less diamonds. If you assume that Aberfoyle was the preferred lit diamond, and we're going to keep that, that's 1.5. That then means that we have 1 diamond, 1.5 diamonds with Morriston, Old Morriston, 1 diamond with Morriston Meadows, and the little T-ball diamond, which is also classified as 1 diamond, which we can debate on that another time. The best way to keep this, and to keep this into layman's terms, is if we keep the Morriston diamond and the Aberfoyle diamond, that's 2 diamonds at 1.5. That equals the 3 that we require. If we drop down and you get rid of the Morriston diamond, you either are going to be up too many or down a half a diamond. Okay? And that is, by the way, I love the way the wording of all that was. I have to, that's another discussion over a beer for that one. Again, it just makes a lot of sense from our side of things to keep the 2 lit diamonds. It answers all the requests that the master plan has put forward. Another component of the Master Parks Plan concerning baseball under Section 26 was to engage local ball user groups to identify and prioritize improvements to select municipal ball diamonds. To our knowledge, and just being a newly formed committee, we have not been involved or consulted on this, and to our knowledge, neither has Puslin Minor Ball in the past. And also with being on the secretary and convener for the Old Timers for 5 years, we were not also informed on any of this. Our goal today as a recreational community, representing Puslin Minor Ball as well as 3 old-timer ball teams currently renting the diamonds for use under the lights, is to persuade council to recognize the need to identify Old Morriston as the second diamond to maintain as recommended in the Parks Master Plan. With being a former member on the Recreation Committee in the previous years, I really wanted to present this to them first. Unfortunately, with time constraints and being a new board, we're unable to do that. Luckily, because the relationships that I have with the Recreation Committee and the members on it, I have had a chance to speak with some of them about our ideas. Baseball in general has seen a resurgence in rentals in the township, being at par with other recreational groups. Puslin Minor Ball has recently revamped itself. We are in the process of growing a strong and even growing, an ever-growing community of baseball. Our numbers over the last 2 years have seen growth. The age that most players start is around 4 years of age at T-ball, and then age 7 they go to 3-pitch, and then to age 9 Atom, Squirt, Pee-wee, and so on. The problem is that we've had in the past is we've struggled with getting growth after T-ball. Not this year. Currently looking at supporting 2 teams at Atom, 1 at Squirt, and we have a chance to even construct a Pee-wee team. We could see an additional 45 players this year with an addition of 2 to 3 teams. We're confident to project a 25% growth in Puslin Minor Ball. A lot of this is attributed to the focus that we have on a larger board running the league, which will allow us to do more marketing, fundraising, and this year we started out with early registration this fall at the Aberfoyle Farmers Market for more awareness. This allows us to get in front of more people in the community, not just for increasing numbers of the players, but to increase awareness of Puslin Minor Ball for the need of support and help in the community. We want to have a relationship with this council that is healthy, a relationship to help grow and, more importantly, maintain the facilities that have been in the past supported by the community and by the township. We have already secured a commitment of $5,000 to go towards the fundraising of new lights to be put into the Morriston Old Ballpark. More importantly, we are looking at various other avenues of raising money currently. It is important that our facilities are kept up to date and not left behind. We feel the same way about Puslin Minor Ball, and we are moving forward and really hoping the township will move in the same direction with us. We believe that the sports teams help children in our community grow mentally and physically. With Sarah's and my backgrounds in kinesiology and phys ed, we have witnessed the values of sport. Obviously, physical fitness is important, but learning how to play with others, develop skills, are so needed in today's world for communicating, respecting, and working well with others. Also, in this world we live in today, where technology plays such a large influence on our children, it is more important than ever that we promote, encourage, and help develop our youth of today into physical activity and provide them with these outlets. If we do not continuously move forward, or at least at the very least maintain the sports facilities that we have currently, we will have a negative impact on the youth in our community. Living in the country provides great opportunities. However, as children, and one that grew up in it, sometimes your closest playmate lives miles away from you. Having an outlet like baseball provides children the ability to have physical play with friends who share in the same interests. I'm not just here, though, on behalf of Puslin Minor Ball. As I stated, I've been the secretary and convener for the community for the Old Timers League of Puslin. This year, we are bringing the entire community of baseball in Puslinch together to work as one. That includes the 3 Puslinch Old Timers teams, the men's seniors team, a ladies team, which is currently playing out of Old Morriston, and Puslinch Minor Ball, which consists of approximately 5 to 6 teams. When you add that all up, we're looking at 10 to 12 teams. 7 to 9 of these teams will require the use of lights. I think we can all see there might be a challenge if we only have one lit ball diamond trying to support the number of teams that are currently here. With the goal of moving Puslinch Ball forward, not having a second lit diamond will cause teams to have to relocate and for Puslinch Minor Ball not to grow. I don't see the township of Puslinch getting smaller. I see it growing and moving forward. In order to do so, we need to keep in mind that facilities must be maintained and looked after in the future for more growth as well. Our biggest concern as parents over the upcoming years are that we will not be able to offer our children the choice to represent their community in baseball because the facilities were not sustained or are no longer available. The question which was raised by someone on the Recreation Committee was why not play the games earlier in the evening so the lights are not required. Puslinch Minor Ball plays in the Inter-County Softball League, and teams come as far away as Port Elgin. It's a 2-hour drive. The earliest a lot of those teams can possibly get down here is 7:30. We also are requested by Inter-County Softball to start games at certain times for certain age groups. Also, that same code goes in effect for the Flamborough Old Timers League. The teams are to start their games at 8:30. Morriston Ball Diamond, just a little history on it, was a private park since its construction in the late 70s, which was built on land donated by local farmers with the intent it stays a lit baseball diamond. The park was owned by the senior men's baseball team and was maintained by the volunteers. The deed to the land was held by members of the senior men's baseball team. At a point in time in history, the team folded, and the diamond was still being maintained by those local volunteers. At that point, though, the volunteers felt that a lit diamond would be best suited deeded over to the township. Once deeding the lit diamond to the township for free, they didn't have the concern that the diamond wouldn't be maintained as a lit diamond. It is now apparent that the wishes and desires of the original community members that donated this land and built the lights has been lost. In hindsight, it should have been a condition in the transfer of ownership. We can't go back on that, but what we want to do is move forward. As a representative of this community, Puslinch Minor Ball, as well as the 3 old-timer teams currently utilizing the facilities, we respectively request that Old Morriston be designated as one of 2 diamonds with lights, along with the Aberfoyle Ball Diamond, within the Parks Master Plan to serve for the community post-2031, as well as being added to the Asset Management Plan and Fiscal Forecast for replacement in 2021. This designation will comply with the recommendation in item 26 of the parks to consult the recreation user for the facilities. Further to our request to designate Old Morriston as one of the 2 lit diamonds to support the needs of baseball into 2031 and beyond, we respectively request the township apply to provincial government for grant funding to replace the infrastructure at Old Morriston, inclusive of baseball lights, public washroom upgrades, and a potential playground. As representative of Baseball Puslinch, we have always had a component of the community support to our sport. The batting cages and the pitching machines at both Aberfoyle and Morriston were fundraised from members of the Puslinch Ball community and our current mayor. We as a community have always understood for decades the partnership and the importance of this. Puslinch Baseball would be prepared to contribute a minimum of $10,000 to the replacement of these lights at Old Morriston, as a quote that has already previously come in at $96,000. It is our hope that a grant application to the province of Ontario for recreation facilities would be applied and approved. Thank you again for allowing us to present our facts and concerns here today, and hope you see the importance of moving forward with us on the upkeep of the Old Morriston Ballpark and the replacement of the lights. At this point, I'd be more than willing, or we'd be more than willing to accept questions on your part.
Hey, thank you very much for that presentation. I think you're doing wonderful work. I don't want to take away from the individuals that worked in our community for the past 20-plus years running Puslinch Minor Ball. I see it's a new face, a new logo. Sometimes, rebranding's a good thing. But I hope the past members will stay involved in this new Puslinch Ball because they are assets to the community. And again, they've done so much work. I'll open this up to the council for questions. So, Councillor Spillis.
Yes, 3 questions, 3 total, 1 of staff. You mentioned the Recreation Committee. When did you last go to the Recreation Committee?
We didn't. That was what I was apologizing about. We weren't able to be,
You
yeah.
cited, an example that when somebody asked,
I spoke with them individually, John, on that side of things, because since I didn't get a chance to get into them, I reached out to a few of them and asked, and gave them some of the information that we're doing, so.
just to go back to the Recreation.
Yeah, I would love to. With being on there before, I hated being left out of the loop, and I felt bad that we couldn't do it this time, so.
With respect to the quote, I haven't had access to the quotation. Was it from a quote produced by staff, or is it something that you got on your own?
That's one of the quotes that we had from when the master plan went back through, and I was heavily involved years ago on that side of things for it, yes.
Something you got to.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, and a question of our financial officer. With respect to applying for grants, I know we're trying to get funding for the soccer field, and the fact that we're thinking about lighting for this Old Morriston. Is there an issue of trying to apply too many times for grants? Or they look at each one on its merits type of thing?
There are criteria for each grant application that's submitted. For this grant, we are able to submit multiple applications for various projects, so they have enabled us to do that, but there are specific criteria that need to be met.
Can I clarify on that?
Sure.
Quickly. So the grant program that the delegate is bringing to our attention, there's two components. And the component for the lights is going to go under the rehabilitation component. So the soccer field wouldn't be eligible for the rehabilitation because it's new infrastructure. So this is a standalone, and Director of Finance can correct me if I'm incorrect, but this rehabilitation is a separate component of the funding, and that's our intent.
There is the rehabilitation and renovation component, and that would also be the same component that we would apply for as part of the Puslinch Community Center Parks Master Plan work.
But I believe the question was if it's going to compete with the soccer field construction grant.
I can't say that it's actually going to compete or not compete.
I guess my question was more, should I rephrased it, is there a cap on how much we can get in the way of grants?
There's a cap per application, and our
per application,
yes,
not-
and our
not-
application is significantly less than the cap.
Okay, fair enough. That's great. Thank you very much.
Councillor Bulmer?
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for coming this afternoon. And thank you for chastising some of the things that maybe have happened in such a polite and professional manner. And I say chastise because you've caused me to reflect on how we've taken care of this gift. I speak quite often on the value of the gifts that this municipality has received from its community, and you've helped to remind me that perhaps we haven't shown the due respect of this gift. And I appreciate that. And I also appreciate your, you've been on this a long time. So you haven't, this is a bone you haven't dropped, and I got to commend you for that. And at this point, I fully support the idea, thanks to your thoughtful comments of, those lights should go back on the asset management plan because how we take care of the things that we're given really reflects on the community as a whole, and says a lot about how we feel about the people who gave us those gifts. So you've convinced me that I think it does need to go back on there, and I'm hoping we can make that happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew, and thank you for previously chats you and I have had numerous times on this, so thank you for that.
I understand you and I have a relationship, but I'll have to ask you to refer to them as Councillor Bulmer and Councillor Goida.
Oh, sorry.
Try to refrain.
Councillor Bulmer, sorry.
I just like giving you trouble. Councillor Goida?
Thank you. Thanks for coming and presenting to us today. I find it very helpful to hear about what's needed directly from the users, especially because I don't have kids that play baseball or soccer, and so I don't understand really sometimes what's involved in those things. So coming here today and explaining that really helps shed a new light on things for myself. Are you still planning on doing a delegation to the Recreation Committee as well? I know that there was probably not, you probably wanted to do this delegation while we're in budget talks, but we're not necessarily finalizing any budget today, so there still is time to talk to the Recreation Committee as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Again, as I said before, with being on the Recreation Committee before, it used to upset me when we'd get bypassed and gone to council. So yeah, that's definitely something we want to do. And again, getting their support, I think a lot of times, I don't want to say pulls weight, but I think it's important to have them on your side for things. And that's where we will definitely take the next step too, is make sure that they're aware of
Okay.
our intent, and also update them on what is going on with Puss Lynch Ball, and keep it. And as I said, we want to start to form a better relationship with council and with the Recreation Committee on our plans, our goals, and also our needs.
Okay, great. I'm glad that you touched on the heritage component. That was a nice touch, because I do think that's an important part of our community. And I'm happy to hear that you are looking and able to come up with some fundraising efforts, and that you have some money that you're going to be able to contribute. I think that this will be a collaborative effort between fundraising, grants, other sources of funding, because it's going to be expensive.
Yep.
And we've got a lot of things on the table that we're trying to achieve. So I do support this. I'm hoping that we will be successful in getting some grant funding. Yeah, that's really it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Again, thank you for your presentation. We do have later on in the agenda, we're going to be dealing with a motion in regards to applying for the funding, because it does close November 12th. So I believe we have to deal with it today. And Councillor Spool has just whispered he has a motion he'd like to.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we ask staff to consider applying for a grant for these diamonds, but also that we get a realistic estimate. I understand from our work staff that the wiring is likely in bad shape, so that should up the cost as well. And again, that the funding for this project be a combination of grants and monies raised.
So the other motion, we might want to just amend that when we get to it, because it pretty much covers everything you mentioned.
Oh, I see, okay.
And we can just deal with it when that report comes forward. Let me just read this real quick. So yeah, this motion, I've read, so this motion talks about the grant funding. So let's, if you don't mind.
Okay, does it talk about the lighting in there, or is it strictly silent? I thought it was covering off the washrooms only.
No, this one speaks of the lights, upgrading washrooms of Old Morris to be funded.
Okay,
through the-
very
so
good.
then
I'm fine with that then.
We'll deal with it then, okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll read this and we can set you free, but if you have the time, you can wait around until we deal with that motion later, or I can give you an update once council finishes today,
All right.
okay?
Thank you.
Why don't you just deal with it now?
Oh, pardon me?
You could deal with it now.
Okay, well, I just thought there was a couple extra components in there as well, but
I think we're bringing the report later, right?
yeah, we're bringing the report later. I'd rather wait for the report because there are more components, so.
No, direct report.
Yes. Moved by Councillor Spillis, seconded by Councillor Bowman. The council receives a presentation by Cameron Tuck, and the council refers the matter to the 2020 budget process. Any questions or comments on that one? All in favor? Carried. We should have some sort of an answer today or something.
Okay, that's great. We're also just going to leave you guys some of the flyers that we've got. So if you know of anybody, please pass them on. But more importantly, just a little bit of an update of what we're doing too.
So, council, I'd like to propose a 15-minute recess, and then we can pick it up with our delegations from our staff. If we need a motion for a recess, or can we just?
I'll make the motion that we recess for 15 minutes and carry on with the delegations.
You got a seconder? Anybody? Thank you. All in favor?